Hello, and welcome to this month's GLE on pro-social behavior in the classroom and beyond, presented by Team Wolfpack of Amanda, Cheryl, Nadir, Rebecca, C, and Christina. And we always start our time together with talking about Bright Spark's mission. So Bright Spark's mission is to nurture and sustain child-centered, anti-racist early learning communities.
Okay, and we would also like to begin the GLE with our land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge with gratitude the land that we are on. We recognize that we are on the stolen lands of the Coast Salish people who stewarded these lands and are still here today. We also acknowledge that the land we occupy was built by the labor of enslaved Africans. At Bright Spark, we stand against all forms of racism and ask that you stand with us to end racism in all of its forms. And the photo on this slide is taken at Claylock Campground, which is on the coast of Washington, in the Olympic National Park. Claylock is located in part of the home of the Quinault Indian Nation. It is on the Washington coast, as I mentioned, and was one of the few safe landing spots for dugout canoes between the Quinault River and the Hoh River. And Claylock itself means a safe place to land.
So our agenda for today is we're going to have a brief overview of the strategies that we talked about in part one of this GLE. And then we'll talk about arrival, free choice, mealtime, focused activity time, circle time, transition, nap time, and outside time.
Okay, so overview reminder of the pro-social strategies that we had discussed in part one. In this GLE, which is part two, we will be talking about how teachers can apply these pro-social behaviors to everyday activities in the classroom throughout the daily schedule. So some of these pro-social behaviors that we'll be talking about are conflict resolution. So the process of ending a disagreement and reaching an agreement that satisfies everyone involved. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Learning how to enter play and how a teacher can support that. Cultural competency and inclusion for all children and families. Positive communication, so using positive words, tone, and body language. Creating a shared classroom language, which are go-to words that all children understand the meaning of, when to use them, and how to use them. And then authentic behavior-specific praise, giving praise for a specific action or a specific behavior.
All right. Well, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're exploring how to support pro-social behaviors during arrival time. That's what I'll be talking about. This is one of the most crucial moments of the day when children feel welcome and safe and connected. The moment they walk in, they're more likely to thrive emotionally and socially throughout the day. So, some key strategies or greet each child warmly by name. So, for an example, good morning, Jackson. I'm so happy to see your smile today. Using a warm tone, making eye contact, it helps children and adults feel valued. Try kneeling down to their level. If they're small, it makes a big difference. Encourage peer greetings. Example, Liam, would you like to wave hello to Sophia today? Or Emma, I saw you gave Maya a high five this morning. How kind. You can even have a greeting chart with pictures of different greetings like waving, fist bumps, peace signs. Some kids like to do handshake. Just let each child kind of pick up on arrival. And then offering activity choices immediately upon entry. So, for example, would you like to draw at the art table, read a book, or build with blocks today. This helps children feel a sense of control and transition smoothly into their day. Um, Also, creating a predictable routine. So post visual arrival checklist, one, hang your backpack, two, wash your hands, and three, choose your activity. You could have this chart laminated with each child checking off the steps with like something easy like clothespins or a sticker or a magnet, you know. And then to also provide sensory friendly transition spaces. So, for example, a quiet corner with soft pillows, dim, if you can, dim lights, something calming. Child might need to come in there and read for a little bit or have something weighted on their lap, soft blanket book. Sometimes parents might want to come in there and sit with the children for a little bit and read a story, so that could help them transition. Offer movement-based greetings. So, example, how about a bear hug or how about three jumps today? And then, energetic children, they might benefit from being moving from a greeting that's like movement in the morning. Who gets to lead jumping with the peers or like doing the wiggles, something fun like that. Also reinforce inclusion. Leah, thank you for helping Zoe hang her backpack. That was so thoughtful. Catch and acknowledge those small moments because that can help build community. Next slide, please. So this is all about tailoring arrival supports for different needs. Um, so for children who might be very shy or have anxiety, um, like a child who always clings to their parents at drop off time, that's what you would use that calm transition zone for, where she could start with a book or a sensory toy, and then you can invite her favorite stuffed animal to sit with her or a friend until she's ready. Um, so you could assign her a consistent greeter who gently says, want to walk to the art table with me, or you want to come hang out with me. That can kind of really help kids who are kind of shy in transition. Um, if you have children with special needs like autism, um, and they could be, overwhelmed by loud noises, sometimes when in the morning time when everyone's coming in and dropping off their things, the classroom can be very chaotic. So you could have a laminated visual sequence chart that shows like just what they should do. You might have some headphones for them or like a stuffy or something to help them hold just to keep them from getting too overwhelmed. Um, you could also teach them pre-social scripts, like look at a friend, wave, and say hi. And you can use picture cards to support these. Also, some children might have big energy and be dealing with like ADHD. And that's when we could have something like a movement menu posted. So you could say like, hey, do you want to do three jumps or five windmills or a silly dance? And then after this movement break, it kind of helps them um, calm down. And you could give them a job to do in the classroom, whether that's helping pass out the materials for breakfast or, maybe it's preparing something for an activity later. And then we want to really support peer interaction. So setting up like something like a welcome table where children can help each other sign in by tracing their names. Um, or modeling friendly phrases like, hi, do you want to play with me? And give children continued opportunities to practice those during arrival time. The next slide, please. Okay, so this is all about free choice. Free choice is where children learn to navigate relationships, solve problems, and build empathy all through authentic child-led experiences. So set up play areas that promote cooperation. Example, in the block area, you could include photos of bridges, castles, or towers to inspire joint projects. You can say like, can you build something together rather just than just go play? In the dramatic play area, you could set up restaurants with menus, notebooks, aprons. These are jobs that can have multiple roles. And there are organizations like Starbucks, Pizza Hut, different things like that will donate materials from their restaurants that you could use in your dramatic play areas. So they could have coffee shops or pizza parlors. Um, Also, model and practice social skills. So, if you have a child who kind of hovers near but doesn't join in, you could say, "Can I help you build something?" And then you can model, for the kids, like, "Lucas, what do you think Leo could add a part of your tower? Can they build the road or can they add a garage?" You know, Try to act out of common social situations. So, during circle time, you might use like puppets and explain to the children like how to act out the scenario, how to like join into play. And then once again, just reinforcing those positive behaviors, saying things like, "Wow, I noticed you waited so patiently for the train. That was so respectful. That was kind. You know, you and your friend worked together to finish that puzzle. That was great teamwork." And to supporting, sharing, and taking turns, you can use things like sand timers to help count down. Um, you, you can make sure you incorporate things like the language once again. Like, it looks like you both want the red truck. Let's count to 10 together. Then we can ask if we can switch. Or you can say, when you're done, can you make sure to bring it to me? Next slide, please. So, this slide is about supporting different types of children in free play. So, if you have shy or socially hesitant children, who like to kind of observe before joining in, you can kind of let them sit nearby with a clipboard or crayons, and then maybe after a few minutes, you might want to gently say, um, "Your friend's building a zoo. Maybe you could draw the animals she might need." Um, Give them a partner or tasks like handing out pretend food to friends in dramatic play, something that's like kind of simple they can do. If children struggle with sharing, you could teach them simple things like, so example, this friend grabs a toy quickly, teach them a simple wait and ask routine, like um, wait, ask, and then take turns. So, also help the children by narrating their emotions. Like, I can tell you really want that truck. Let's ask James when he'll be done. Or what can we do while we're waiting for the truck? Um, there are also some children who like to dominate play. So just making sure they know that like all friends are allowed to be in charge and take turns and making sure to help give them leadership roles too. Like you can plan the game with Sophia and Liam. So maybe they're planning the pizza parlor or they're assigning the jobs. Maybe they're the boss and they're hiring everyone. Um, and then if you have children who have autism or social communication needs, you could set them up with parallel play opportunities to sit next to a peer who's doing something similar, like side by side tasks, like maybe sorting or matching, and then using laminated cards with common phrases or visuals like "Can I play?" or "Let's build together." And then we want to help facilitate conflict resolution. So, for example, if two children are arguing over the same toy, instead of solving it, you want to guide them with what can we do so you both get a turn? Can one of you dig while the other one collects rocks? Teach a simple like stop talk method or like a three-step problem solving skills where children like stop and take a deep breath. Then they both can communicate what happened and what they need and what needs to be done. And then from there we can come to like a conclusion where they've solved by themselves. So, you might say, "Oh, um, they knocked over Sam's tower. How can you help fix it?" And then you let the child respond like, "Oh, I can help build this." And really kind of letting them come to the conclusion and, if they're happy with it, letting that be what it is. And then the next slide, please. My last slide is about why it's important to have at least an hour of free play. Um, so kids, they really need this time to be able to really dive into dramatic play and what they're doing. For example, if kids both want to be superheroes and they might have an argument first, then they need time and guidance to kind of like create these roles and work through these problems together. Free play, it also nurtures executive functioning. When children pretend, when they work in these pretend roles, they learn about negotiating, problems, they build cognitive flexibility, and they learn self-control. Um, it allows them to build real friendships. So children get to spend time with their friends collaborating, um, and they're able to develop more empathetic relationships. Um, oh, okay. And yeah, thank you guys so much.
All right. Next, we're going to move on to mealtime. So first, we're going to talk about modeling and explicit teaching. So for modeling, adults should model sharing, helping, and using polite language. They should show genuine appreciation for others' efforts and contributions. To teach skills directly, um, they should explain concepts like sharing, taking turns, and empathy in age-appropriate terms. You can do this by using stories, puppets, or role playing to illustrate pro-social behaviors. And then teach how to ask for help and offer assistance. The second strategy to try is to create a positive mealtime atmosphere. So you'll want to establish a calm and predictable routine. A consistent routine helps children feel secure and reduces anxiety. So to do this, you can use visual cues such as pictures or audio cues such as songs to signal a transition throughout the day. You'll want to encourage positive interactions. So you can do this by facilitating conversations, by asking open-ended questions. You can create opportunities for children to work together, such as passing food and setting the table. You can seat children in a way that encourages interactions. You can foster a sense of community through using mealtime as an opportunity to build relationships and establish a gratitude circle or similar activity where children can express appreciation. So the third strategy is to reinforce pro-social behaviors. So providing specific praise, acknowledge and praise children's pro-social actions, such as, I saw how you helped your friend open their milk carton. That was very kind. And then focus on the behavior, not just the child. And then use positive reinforcement. Implement a system of rewards or recognition for pro-social behavior, such as stickers or verbal praise. And then address inappropriate behavior constructively. Intervene calmly and respectfully when conflicts arise. You can help children understand the impact of their actions on others. Guide children in finding solutions and making amends, and focus on teaching conflict resolution skills. The fourth strategy, promoting empathy and perspective taking. So with this, you want to encourage children to express their feelings. You can help children identify and label their emotions, create a safe place for children to express their feelings, and then help children understand others' feelings. Ask questions like, how did you think your friend feels? Use stories and role playing to explore different perspectives. And then the last one is to create an inclusive environment. So first, we want to accommodate diverse needs by providing adaptive utensils and seating and being mindful of sensory sensitivities. And then also respect cultural differences in food preferences. And then promoting equity. So you want to ensure all children have access to food, avoid any type of favoritism, and then using inclusive language. Avoid any, avoid any language that could be harmful to any child, and avoid food moralizing language. Next, we're going to move on to focus activity time. So focus activity, or small group as some call it, is the time of the day where an activity is initiated by the teacher. This is the time of the day for the teacher to teach an idea or concept to all students in the group at once, typically at a table or in a center area depending on what is being taught. Situations may arise that we can utilize the support of a pro-social approach. The first one I'm going to talk about is conflict resolution. So during this time of the day, a situation that may arise is the sharing of materials. In this situation, this is most often the case, and because of that, we will have to utilize some conflict resolution skills. You can mitigate this from the start by ensuring that there are enough materials and allowing for choice within this teacher-led activity. Even with all that in mind, it can certainly still happen. To resolve this conflict, you want to first hold on to the object that the children are struggling with. You will then want to find out what is going on from each student. Repeat what they have said, and then see if there's a solution that they can share. And if not, ask if you can share an idea. If the idea is shared by one of the children or you work for both students, follow their lead and support their choices in how they want to share. If the proposed solution does not work, keep coming up with new ideas and even circle back to ideas already proposed until there is something that is agreed upon by both children. In this moment, they have solved the problem through the practice of identifying the problem, generating a solution, and then practicing cooperation and listening to one another's ideas for how to solve it. And the next one we're going to focus on is shared language. Shared language and conflict resolution will go hand in hand. You have to be able to have some shared language to go through the steps of conflict resolution. You as the teacher can verbally notice something like, I'm noticing you both would like to use this pencil. How can we solve this problem? You might notice that if your shared language in the classroom is being utilized, the child may say, stop, I don't like it when you take my pencil. In moments of conflict, it helps a great deal to include shared language so that children know what to say and when in those difficult moments. This supports their problem-solving skills through the shared understanding for what this language means in the classroom. The next one to focus on is empathy. One thing that could come up during a focus activity is the need for empathy during a small group activity. If a child is struggling or upset for any reason due to conflict arising, we can demonstrate empathy in any situation and encourage the same from our students to those who need that understanding. If a child is upset because something happens to their work, simply demonstrating verbal empathy, such as, I see that you are feeling sad because your paper was torn. This is frustrating. Letting other children hear how you approach empathy and with others enables them to learn the language to support their friends when they are feeling upset or sad. To show empathy, you might include some problem solving, such as, I noticed your paper ripped. How can we solve this problem? A child may not know. They may suggest taping their paper, or they may suggest something like starting over. You can get other children involved as well by asking another student to support if it feels right in the moment, such as, can you get the tape for Oliver so that we can fix his paper? And then, thank you for helping Oliver solve his problem. You are a good friend. The next one is creating an inclusive environment. So creating an inclusive environment during focus group time can be helpful in ensuring that all students have the materials that they need. To do this, you'll want to look at every activity you do and think about the appropriate materials you need to support all areas where children are in their development in your classroom. Not only this, but you'll want to look at the setting as well. Do you have students that can focus better while they're standing at the table? Do they need to move their bodies in order to learn? You might find yourself adapting your activity to meet the needs of one or more children for this reason. If you notice a child engaging for a short amount of time or one that does not want to participate in the activity at all, you might consider what their learning style is and figure out how you can adapt the activity for that child. And then for the last one, I'm going to combine authentic praise and behavior-specific praise with positive communication. So for focus activities, it is very easy to provide a child with praise. Authentic praise will go a long way in recognizing a child's work. I like to notice what children are doing rather than saying the words good job, because it gives the child very little to go on in what you think they're doing a good job with. Saying things such as, I noticed you drew a lot of circles and used a lot of blue and green. Can you tell me about your picture? That opens the door for a child to expand upon their language. Rather than saying good job or rather than saying good job at making water with bubbles, you can notice what you see to get your student to describe their picture. This way you are encouraging language learning as they share a description of their project, and you deepen their concept as you ask questions that lend themselves to descriptive language development. Bringing in positive communication is essential in encouraging children to stretch their thinking. During a focused activity, part of a teacher's role is to observe and ask questions to each child to see how they're engaging with the materials you have provided them, and then asking them questions to stretch their thinking and build upon that current understanding. In any classroom, you will have a range of abilities, and so it is vital to not hold every child to the same expectations and to observe each child to understand where they might need scaffolding and support. You can bring in authentic praise and noticing what children are doing and simply notice what you see. Even saying things like, it's tricky to draw a circle, but you did it and you kept trying and then you did it. This is an example of not just giving praise for the sake of it, but also noticing their efforts and their persistence.
Thank you, Christina. Now we want to touch on how we can bring pro-social behavior into circle time. One of my secrets and one of my keys to success when I was in the classroom was I relied on other students. I always had a numbers advantage. While other classrooms maybe had 19, 20 kids and they had only two teachers, I always felt like I had three, four, up to five kids because up to five teachers because I always had a few kids that were always leaders. I was always able to look early into the years, establish a culture, explain to the kids what a leader looks like, highlight all those examples, and I was able to instill leadership into kids. Kids that wanted to be leaders or kids that I saw a lot of good qualities and values already inherent, and we're able to build them and establish them to not only reinforce some rules, but the culture of being of having empathy, the culture of looking at things through the lens of kindness. So my tip and my advice is to build leaders in your classroom and to use them as your model examples when you praise. And honestly, you're going to inspire other kids around them to want to strive to be just like them. There's something about certain kids that have charisma. There's certain kids that have a certain aura about them that they're going to gravitate towards those kids. You might say the same thing and then they'll repeat it in their own tone and the kids might follow with them. And that's just something that you can take advantage of as opposed to being upset about how other kids are following and abiding by other kids and not your own rules. So instill leadership in those kids and use them to your advantage. Use them to highlight moments in the classroom where you see, oh, that's an amazing moment that he took time out of his day to help out another child when he could have easily gone into circle time and sat down and taken his own spot. Talk about what a leader is. Talk about the leadership qualities. Highlight specific examples of what of when you see it and praise it in real time. Use those moments as teaching moments. For the next slide, we're going to go in and look at examples of what those moments might be and what areas you could praise the leaderships. So one example is at circle time is if another child gives up their spot for someone else, one of their friends. Sometimes sitting closer to a teacher or sitting at a certain part of circle is really important to some of the kids. And when I see a kid willingly give up their spot because maybe another child is more comfortable sitting next to a teacher or more comfortable sitting next to a friend, I want to highlight those moments and I want to praise them and show them, hey, these are leadership skills where you're giving up something that could have been yours for someone else that might need it more. Students that comfort another friend when they notice that maybe their mood has changed. It could be that they're feeling sad. It could be that they're feeling extra tired today, or they have a little bit of anger inside where they just need a little bit of a hug. Someone that gives them a high five, or someone just to remind them that, hey, you have a beautiful smile. Hey, I like your shoes today, and that might spark them up. So things like that, I want you guys to find those moments and to highlight. Let them know that those are moments of leadership. Friends saving a spot for a teacher. I always feel like those are really sweet moments. If a friend is able to reserve a spot for you, maybe they want to sit close to you. That just shows that you've established a good relationship with that child. That they want to spend that extra time being closer to you during that time in circle time. Other things that you can notice that you can praise. Students that help out their friends to clean up. Oftentimes we have cleaning up with block area, cleaning up with dramatic area, and some kids will only clean up the things that they touch. Kids that go out of their way to help out all the other friends, going out to help out, maybe picking up some of the books or pushing some of the chairs when it wasn't their responsibility, it wasn't something that they played with. And they could have easily used that time to go in a circle to reserve a spot for themselves or to get priority in a different area. But they chose to stay back to help out their friends. So moments like that, definitely use it as a teaching moment to highlight. Students that give teachers a hug, a child that redirects another friend and helping them remind them of the rules. That I always love to see because now they're looking not only to help that child, but they're teaching them as well. There are a lot of kids out there that will remind kids of the rules, but not in a way of helping them, but more just to get them in trouble. So you don't want to highlight moments like that. You want to highlight the moments where the kids are trying to help out another student, trying to remind them, hey, we should sit in a circle now because we're getting ready to go outside soon. So if we're all sitting down, we get more time and we get be able to go outside a little bit faster, get to spend more time playing on the swings and more time playing a specific game. So they have it in their heart to help out their friend. Another thing too is if a child volunteers to answer for another student, sometimes you will notice that there are students that are not their capacity to answer in front of others are not there yet. And if a child notices that and steps in and helps them out, I always want to highlight moments like that too. Now let's go on and let's see some of the activities that we can work with circle time to teach our kids and to teach them the foundations on how to be empathetic and how to have pro-social behavior that is in circle time. So I utilize this time to read. I often think that books are a good foundation to start conversation. Books are a good foundation to honestly to relate to a lot of situations that happen in the classroom. I want you guys to be intentional in choosing your books and when you read them. Oftentimes, there are some things that happen in the classroom or maybe happened that week where you can relate it to an incident in the book, you can relate it to a part of the story, and you can get everyone at circle time to really sit down and to reflect. How could we have approached that situation differently? Where was the issue? Where was the conflict? And how could that person have maybe used different words or maybe said it in a different tone that might have alleviated the conflict, that might have um, um, helped it from escalating even further. So oftentimes relating to these stories can help a child see their own mirror reflection and see that, oh, you know what? I do agree that's mean. Oh, I wish I would have done that differently. And sometimes reading the story will help them just get a clearer picture of what's been happening. So give your students scenarios and role play with them. And the goal is for you to guide them towards understanding and not just telling them, this is what you do for this and this is what you do for this. Because every scenario is going to be different. Every scenario is going to be a little bit different here, a little bit different there. So you want to teach them to understand so they can view every situation to evaluate what's happening and to come up with their own solution. Some of the books that I feel is important to read, and some of them that have really great values behind them, are the four that I've selected in here. The Rabbit Listen, The Empty Pot, I Walk with Vanessa, and Kindness Grows. I want to highlight specifically The Empty Pot. It's one of my favorite books. The story is about honesty and it's about being transparent. In the story, the emperor, he gives out this contest where everyone has to grow the most beautiful flower. And whoever grows the most beautiful flower will get the prize. The prize is to become the next emperor, the one that is going to look over and be responsible for the whole country, be responsible for everything. And the emperor wanted someone that was going to be honest, someone that was going to be good for the people, someone that would be transparent. And so what he did was he handed out a seed that was already cooked. That seed had no chance of growing. Every child that would try to put it in a pot, no matter how much you nurture that soil, no matter how much you water it, take care of it, it was not going to grow. But on the day of the contest, everyone came with a beautiful flower except our main character, who was honest throughout the whole process. He was very sad, but he came with an empty pot. And he talked to the emperor and he said, I tried my best, but it just wouldn't grow. And in doing so, he convinced the emperor that that was going to be the winner. And he ended up picking Ying Ping because he was honest and he was transparent with his whole process. And he was still proud of what he did, his efforts, even if it didn't grow all the way. So there was a lot of lessons and values that I took away from reading The Empty Pot and something that you can also use as lessons that you can also teach in the classroom as well.
Great, thank you, C. And we are going to talk about transitions next. So transitions are times when we move from one activity to another. It could be from one learning environment to another. It can also be when children arrive and when they leave for the day. Transitions are a part of our day and they happen all throughout the day. Um, these transition times can be a high time misbehaviors can happen, but they're also a great time to help reinforce those pro-social behaviors that we have been talking about. So below I have some ways that you can help make your transitions um, more helpful. So having a plan for your transitions. So making sure that transitions are part of your learning day will help ensure that children stay engaged during this time. And make sure that you build transition times into your daily schedule. Transitions can be stressful for children, so we want to make sure that we're allowing ample time to move through those. And then giving warnings before a transition begins. So just like adults, children need time to process that change is coming. So giving a 10 and a 5-minute warning can help cut down on stress around that transition time. And so we want to also help reduce wait time during these transitions times. So making sure that we have everything prepared for the transition is going to be important. And then be aware of the length of time it takes you to move. Longer transitions are going to equal more wait time. Um, Utilizing transition activities is going to be helpful. So having a transition song, counting steps, marching like dinosaurs, hopping like bu bunnies is gonna be helpful. You can also ask your children to come up with a transition activity as well. And then I have on here, don't focus on lining up as a that you have to do it. While it is great to encourage lining up, younger children may struggle with this concept, and it can make a transition last a lot longer than what it should. And we also want to set the expectation of what you want during that transition ahead of time. So letting children know exactly what you want from them is a good way to help reduce stress around this time. And then we've talked about it multiple times. So positive praise is a great way to encourage children positive behavior. So praising children when they transition effectively will help to increase the behavior that we want to encourage. And then lastly, just continue to reflect on whether or not your transition activities or transition schedule is meeting the needs of your current students. You may have some children who need more support during transition times, such as longer warning times or more one-on-one support. So change transition practices with the changing needs of your classroom will help ensure that they continue to be as effective as possible.
Okay, next we're going to talk about nap time. So nap time can be a challenging part of the day for lots of different reasons. And here are some of those pro-social strategies that can help make it a little bit more peaceful and restful for everyone. So empathy. So consider that there could be underlying issues why a child may either not want to sleep or may not be able to sleep. Maybe they were up late the night before. Maybe they're not feeling well. Is there other stress going on in their lives at home? Maybe they have some sensory issues that make it hard to sleep at school. So understanding why a child may not nap can go a long way in helping them be successful and finding solutions that might help them be able to nap. So using positive communication. So think about the words and messaging that you're using during nap time. I know we all need to feel safe and relaxed in order to go to sleep. So if a teacher has had some harsh words at any point in the day leading up to nap time, that can be very difficult for a child to overcome. Also, telling a child, go to sleep, won't work. Would that work for you if someone told you, go to sleep now? Kindly remind the child that it is time to rest their brains and rest their bodies, and then make the environment match that expectation. Putting too much pressure and some negative connotation to nap will not be successful for the children or for the teachers. And when this expectation of resting your brains and your bodies becomes clear and used often enough, that will become shared classroom language. All of the children will understand what that message is and may even begin to use those phrases as well. And low light, some other ideas, some low lights if that is allowed. Soft music and gentle words can also help children at nap time.
All right. Now we're
Oh,
transitioning into outside time. This is one of my favorite times and one of the best
oh,
times to do.
sorry, see, I had one more slide.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Um, so some other pro-social strategies for nap time. So learning how to enter play. And in this case, while nap time is not playtime, it can be very difficult for children to enter nap time. It's a very different environment than their home, and that can cause some stress, especially for the younger children. Um, Infants and toddlers, many, and even some preschoolers, many are used to at home being the only child in the room, having it be completely quiet, and having it be very dark. And that is not the case in early learning facilities. Ask families how they approach nap or bedtime and take cues from them. The more consistency that you're able to provide between home and school, the more success there will be. And another benefit of talking with families about their nap time routines and expectations is that you're showing cultural competency. You are communicating that all families and their cultures are welcome and accepted. And it is not uncommon for uh, families of preschoolers to ask that the child not sleep. And I know this can cause stress with teachers as they have their own list of chores that they like to get done in nap time. But again, having the expectation of resting your brains and resting your bodies doesn't necessarily have to mean sleeping. The last prosocial behavior is conflict resolution. So conflicts can happen quite often at nap time, and power struggles are pretty common. So one thing that is important to learn is that an adult will not ever win in a power struggle with a child. And if you do, it is very likely that harm will be done to that child and to your relationship. So nap time is meant to be restful, so that keep that goal in mind. If a child isn't ready to sleep or want to sleep, or if they can't sleep, you can offer books or coloring or quiet table type toys for them to do on their mat. I've seen some people have little crates or little bags full of activities, and the children take it to their nap and it keeps them busy so that the children who do nap are able to do so. So, if staying on their mat is a challenge during this, think outside the box and you can ask them to help you. Can they help clean up from lunch? Can they help you prep an art activity for the next day? Maybe clean a shelf or organize some toys. Just remember that the goal is to have a restful classroom, a restful environment, and that doesn't always mean that all children will be sleeping.
Thank you, Rebecca. I was just too excited to start outside time. That's how much I like outside time. Well, this is one of my favorite times because this is where you can really start to see leaders developing on their own, sometimes developing with some guidance from you. Um, Honestly, when you're taking a look and you see and you're paying more attention, you'll start to see the dynamic in your guys' classroom. You'll start to see the leaders start to take shape. In the classrooms that are unguided by a teacher, oftentimes the leaders that do emerge are the ones that are the loudest and the proudest. You can highlight and you can point out the kids that are the ones that are giving another spot to another kid, and a one that is helping another child maybe shoot a basketball, helping another child getting on one of the tricycles. You can emphasize and highlight a lot of those moments outside. As a teacher, establish the culture in your class to be the tone that you want. You want to seek out those kids that students gravitate around and build the leaderships around that, and build the leaderships around the kids that are in your classroom to really utilize the pieces that you have that are already working. Let's go on to the next slide so we can take a look at some of the activities and also one of the things you shouldn't do when we're outside. Something that I notice often is the teachers tend to use the moments that we're outside as a break. We want to utilize all the moments that we can while we're around the kids. When there's teaching moments, to really utilize those moments for teaching moments. But for outside, for me, it's a great time for teachers really to establish relationship and to build relationship with your kids. So if you're standing out there in your cold, my advice is run around, play tag with them. You will start feeling warm and you'll start seeing the kids wanting to play with you, start talking to you more, and even start sharing more with you because you're showing them that you're also part of them too, part of their group. You can also be part of their game. You can engage and you can participate. You can have fun. You can be silly just like they are. So my advice really is to utilize this opportunity to not only model the pro-social behavior, but to highlight the behaviors that you see in the leaders that are in your classroom. Now, some activities that I would encourage for you guys to try would be on the next slide when we are looking to send out positive messages, looking at to create positive images. If you guys can go to the next slide. Positive images and positive messages. An activity that I really thought was cute and I found was writing messages on rocks. You guys can utilize a couple of days for that activity. First, to teach them about the intentions behind writing kind words and to compliment and to say kind words to others. And then after that, using the fine motor activity to paint the rocks, maybe even before that, exploring outside, exploring nature to find different things that you can paint. Maybe it's part of a tree branch, maybe it's a rock, maybe it's a leaf that you find that has a great shape to it. You can utilize that to paint. And then the second day after it dries, then you get into the whole writing with fine motor and also teaching them about different words. You can utilize side chalk to do the same thing, creating images that are of peace, images that are showing kids doing kind acts. And you can images that are just pleasant, flowers and animals, colors that are more vibrant. You can also teach the kids that are more advanced to write down messages that are also positive. Write down messages of love. Write down messages that encourage kindness. Need a hug? You are loved. You are beautiful. A lot of different things that you can write on the sidewalk, on walls of your buildings, whatever it is that is allowed, that is appropriate in your area that's outside, to really utilize it, to design that area to make it look like it's something that the kids create. The kids really are invested in the classroom when they take ownership in what is also theirs too. So oftentimes when they're able to decorate parts of their classroom or even decorate parts of their outside area, they might feel ownership in that. And the last activity that I found that was really good that I would encourage kids to teach to do is to help out with community, teach them about recycling, teach them about picking up trash and teach them about why trash impacts our world and why leaving out trash and not picking up trash can lead to animals getting harmed, lead to crops and plants being harmed, and lead to the earth being polluted in ways that we can put our hands into helping out. So teaching kids early on the importance of recycling and picking up trash are some things that we can do to help out the community.
And thank you guys for joining us. Please, if you have any questions or concerns, reach out to your coach. And we appreciate you guys taking the time to watch our GLE.